In Fort Myer, Virginia, 1908, was the first time a life was ever lost in an airplane crash, when Lieutenant Thomas Selfridge died in one of Orville's rights demonstrations. And it would not be the last. In decades that followed, many more planes fell out of the sky, different aircrafts, different years. Sometimes it was a mechanical failure, sometimes the weather, and sometimes human mistakes. But the same question remained unanswered. What happened in those final moments? Until this was invented about 4 decades later. Today we will finally understand the flight recording system, commonly known as the black box, the device that changed how we solve aviation mysteries forever. This is machines learning, and here the physics is for the regulars. Let's dive in. In 1934, another tragedy happened, this time in Australia, when a small airliner disappeared over the Bass Strait. No wreckage was ever found. Aboard of that flight was Reverend Hubert Ernest DeMay Warren. His son, David, would learn about his father disappearing in the middle of nowhere, and no one could tell him what happened. This traumatic experience and his early love for electronics became fuel to achieve his purpose, which was to understand what happens in the final moments before a plane falls from the sky. David later became an engineer, and so he invented the flight recording system at 28 years old. The term black box has been causing confusion since day one in aviation. That confusion starts with the name itself, black box, because they are not black. They are orange, because it makes them easier to find that way in dark places. Some say that it's called black box because the early versions of it used magnetic tape to record data. That tape was pitch black, hence the name. Also, engineers during the war would call black boxes to instruments that were burnt out after a crash. Others say that the name was adopted because it sounds cool, but that's the least likely one. All these reasons and few more exist, but only some relate to the true origin. Now, there are two that I personally like, but are not related to aviation. In physics, there is something called a black body. In a few words, a black body is anything that can perfectly absorb light and heat and perfectly emit radiation. And all you can see is darkness, like a black hole, for instance. In systems engineering, a black box refers to a system in which we only care about what goes in, the input, and what comes out, the output. Anything else we ignore because we don't care how it happened or what's inside. So, if you think of it that way, anything can become a black box depending on your context. A vending machine is a black box if you only put some coins in to get Doritos. Our own bodies can be considered black boxes for most people. You eat food, next thing you know, you're giving back to the community. To understand black boxes, I personally think these two explanations make sense. Another source of confusion, and something most people probably did not know, is the fact that there is not a single black box in an aircraft. There are two of them. There is one for recording data called Flight Data Recorder, or FDR, and another one called Cockpit Voice Recorder, or CVR. The FDR records most things you can think of as data in an aircraft. Altitude, pressure, temperature, direction, speed, fuel, pedal position, control wheel, wings, flaps. Anything that is on and everything that is off, you can rest assured that the FDR is aware. The CVR, on the other hand, simply listens to the pilots and any switch they turn, any buttons they press, any levers they pull, any beeps, whether they are expected or unexpected. The CVR can hear it all. These two together is what we commonly refer to as the black box, but there are two of them, and they are very independent from one another. Now we get to the part where they become interesting, which is their physical capabilities. Black boxes are very strong and incredibly resistant to high temperature and can sustain unimaginable forces. Before they are proved to be operational, They must be tested under the worst possible scenarios. When an aircraft crashes, the sight is catastrophic. Pretty much nothing survives. So the engineers had to secure a way that black boxes can make it out of 3 apocalyptic scenarios. The first one, it's high temperature. They have to survive in more than 1000 degrees Celsius for 60 minutes, plus an additional test at 250 degrees Celsius for 10 hours, and the information must remain intact. The second is deep sea pressure. The device is certified for depths of 6,000 meters. At that level, the water is so strong it can crush most regular man-made objects, and the black box has to sit there for the insane time of 30 days, emitting a locator signal still. The third is impact forces. It is certified to withstand forces of 3,400 Gs of deceleration. G-forces are tricky to understand properly, but for the purpose of this video, 3,400 Gs is close to slamming your iPhone against a concrete wall at a highway speed if it stops almost instantly. And please, this is important. G-forces are not about the speed. They are about how fast motion stops. When a plane crashes, it goes from falling very fast to a sudden full stop in a very short time. This is acceleration with a negative sign, or deceleration. The black box is made to survive that sudden stop. And we could go so much deeper in our quest to learning about this device, but unfortunately, we will have to stop here. So the key idea is black box, a fancy name but even a better function. They are not black though, they are orange because it's easier to find after a crash. There's 2 of them, not 1. They record data, voices, and other sounds. They are very strong and resistant, and because of them, we are able to understand what happens in the final moments before a crash, and David Warren made it all possible. There are amazing resources online about black boxes, and please feel free to go online and check them out if you want to quick fact check the information I provided today, and of course to expand on your knowledge. And please like, comment, and subscribe if you like this breakdown, and if you would like to understand the world one machine at a time. This is Machines Learning, and the physics is for the regulars. I'll see you next time.